Hello and welcome to pmclounge.com. In this video, you will learn the fifth principle of project management. And by the way, these 12 principles come from the standard of project management. If you want to go over all the 12 principles, check out the second link in the description below, which will take you to an entire playlist. And if you want to learn more about the standard of project management, which is a very important document if you are preparing for your PMP exam, then check out the third link in the description below, which will be an entire playlist of all the videos that we have done so far covering the standard of project management. And by the way, first link is where you go if you are interested in reading articles rather than watching videos like this. So, what is the fifth principle of project management? Recognize, evaluate, and respond to system interactions. So, what does it say? It says you should recognize, evaluate, and respond to the dynamic circumstances within the project as well as the surrounding of the project in a holistic way. So keep track of the larger picture. And this is going to positively affect the performance of the project. So recognize, evaluate, and respond to the dynamic circumstances, the changing circumstances, which could be within your project and it could be surrounding the project as well. And you have to take a holistic approach while you do so. So that's what systems thinking is all about. Now, just like our last videos, I will take an example to explain this entire topic to you, and then we will go into the details of this principle. So, as an example, consider that you are the project manager of a very large multi year project, which is, let's say, the development of a residential housing society, right? So you have different teams now, right? You have a very large, and my drawing skills are pretty bad, so excuse me there, but this is the parcel of land, and you are supposed to be constructing some buildings here which will be used for residential purposes. And then obviously there are other things that are required for the residential society, right? Housing society, you would need, let's say, some amenities, like let's say you need a swimming pool here. You may need parking lots, right? So you may need multi-level car parking, right? So these may have different floors where cars can be parked. So stuff like these, and you will see that there are different teams responsible for their each section. So this is where interconnected systems come into the play. This large project will have subsystems and systems. So you would need roads also, right? So you need, let's say this is the entrance of the society, then you need a road that allows people to go over across the society. So the roads need to be properly aligned with the buildings, and the roads should go to the parking spots as well, right? You have your multi-level car parking buildings, so the roads should go there as well. Now, let's say you need other amenities. We talked about how there is a swimming pool here. Let's say you need some parks and playground, right? Let's say you need a park here, so this is the park which would require obviously some plantation, and also there will be a parks team as well taking care of the amenities, the parks and all. And you need to ensure that there's enough space between buildings, parks and roads, right? And then I hope you understand how there could be a construction team that takes care of constructing of the residential buildings, the multi-level car parking. There could be a specialized team working just on amenities like parks and swimming pools. There could be a roads team that is just taking care of the roads, and all of this within this large housing society project, right? So there are systems and subsystems that you can see within this project. And then there could be changing conditions as well. So let's say halfway through the project, the architect realizes that if we build a bridge to connect these two buildings, which was your car parking buildings, right? The multi-level car park. If we can connect and we can build a bridge, it will be very, very useful. And this was, let's say, something which was not in the initial scope of work. but there is a tremendous benefit of changing the scope of work and maybe introducing something like this. So this is the changing requirement, this is the dynamic situation, the dynamic circumstances that this principle talks about. So you will have to, as a project manager, as a project team, need to respond to such dynamic requirements, changing requirements, right? Let's say there is another requirement wherein for one of the floors within the multi-level car parking, the sponsor of the project tells you that, hey, this floor will be allocated to a vendor who is interested in setting up a car wash shop within the multi-level car parking. So what that means is you need to ensure that there's supply of water on this floor so that the car wash shop can actually work. So that also is something which changes the requirements. Right now you have additional requirements. So this is precisely how real world projects operate, and this is why it is important for you as a project manager, as someone working on the project team, to adapt to real world challenges and changes in the scope. So this is precisely how systems thinking is in action. We have to have different teams, right? So the construction team, the amenities team, the roads team, they need to not just focus on their own scope of work, they need to look at the project holistically, right? So this is where the holistic way to look at the project within the project. So this could be a sub project. Construction was just a sub project of the whole housing society, roads was just a sub project of the whole housing society, right? But it does have an impact, and that is why the roads team, the construction team, the amenities team, they need to look at the project in a holistic way. If you are a project manager who is, let's say, managing just the constructions of this housing society, you have to step back and you have to look at the project as a whole. And teams, if they can plan together, the project will obviously be a success. So that's the long and short of what this principle talks about. Now let's get down into more details about systems thinking. So at its core, a project is going to operate as a system which is made up of various interconnected and interdependent parts. These domains of activity work, they together achieve a unified goal. As in our example, we were talking about a housing society and you saw how many different teams were involved. Now, systems thinking, this is going to shift your perspective to see the bigger picture. How these project parts or sub projects, how do they interact? And not only within themselves, but also with the external systems, such as, let's say, the strategy of the organization or the market condition. Now, one key challenge is that systems are constantly evolving. So, internal changes, there could be external forces, and even small disruptions, they can create a ripple effects across the entire project, across the entire system of project, if I may say so. However, the systems thinking, right, with systems thinking, project teams can remain responsive to these interactions. And this responsiveness enables teams to, make adjustments and seize opportunities that can positively impact the outcome of the project. So, taking this holistic approach is going to help project teams better manage the dynamic circumstances, ensuring that projects perform optimally while staying aligned with the goals of the organization. And with that, a quick reminder, if you're preparing for the PMP exam, download your free 7-week PMP study plan from the link in the description below. 50 days is all it takes. Thousands of our community members have used this study plan to pass their PMP exam. Now, let's talk about projects as systems and subsystems. We took an example of it when we talked about the housing society. Let's explore more about this, right? So, projects, they do not exist in isolation, right? Let's just focus on the first point. They are part of the broader systems, larger systems, and it could be programs or portfolios as well. And this interconnected structure often referred to as a system of systems, and it highlights the importance of aligning a project's goals with the higher level objectives. So your project is not just, you might be the project manager responsible for construction of roads, but you have to look at the holistic picture. You have to look at the system of systems, which is you are just working on the road system, but there's construction going on, there's amenities required, there's this whole multi-level car parking required and all that, right? So within your project, there are often subsystems that need to work together seamlessly. As an example, let's take another example. If different teams, they develop individual components of a deliverable or of a software, right? The real challenge lies in integrating those components effectively to achieve the desired outcome. You look at any manufacturing plant, or let's say manufacturing of cars, you will see that all these different parts come from different vendors. End of the day, all of them need to work together to make the final car, right? To make that final piece. So that is what it talks about when it says subsystems within the project and how they must integrate effectively. So to navigate this complexity, project teams must balance two perspectives. First is inside out, which is focusing on how their work influence the larger system. And secondly, it is outside in, which is the understanding of how external factors shape their project's priorities and actions. I'd like to repeat it here, right? Two perspectives that all project teams and you as a project manager need to be aware of. Number one is inside out. So, this is where you focus on how the work that your team is doing, how it influences the larger system, right? At the program level or at the portfolio level. And the second thing is outside in, which means how external forces, things that are not within your control, which are outside the project, how they are going to shape your priorities and actions within your project. So, inside out and outside in. Now, by identifying and leveraging synergies between systems, project teams can also improve efficiency and they can deliver greater value for stakeholders. Now, let's talk about timing and incremental outcomes. So, timing plays a critical role when it comes to systems thinking. Projects, they often deliver incrementally, where each phase builds upon the last phase, and this creates a cumulative impact over time. As an example, let's talk about software delivery, right? So a project delivering software incrementally, it allows each release or each version of the software to enhance the capabilities of the previous versions, and this maximizes value for stakeholders. Now, it is important to note that systems thinking urges project teams to think beyond just the completion of the project, right? You talk about how the deliverables are going to perform in the operational context as well. You need to ensure that these deliverables meet the intended outcomes in real world use, and that is actually just as important as delivering those deliverables, right? Now, by recognizing the dynamic nature of systems and planning with a long term perspective, project teams can better align outcomes with organizational goals and the expectations of the customer. So that's how timing and incremental outcomes are important. Now, how do you adapt to changes in the system? Obviously, we talked about this. No project exists in a vacuum. There are internal dynamics, there are external influences that constantly shift or try to shift the direction that your project is going, right? So, even a minor change can actually trigger a domino effect, or it can cascade impacts throughout the project system. As an example, let's say a large construction project that we were talking about, right? A change in requirements, it might affect contracts with vendors. We just talked about how the architect thought it was really, really helpful if those two MLCP, multi-level car parking building, had, let's say, two bridges. But this changing requirements, right? This is going to affect the contract that the project team had with the vendors, or the sponsor of the project had with the vendor for construction of the multi-level car park, right? And this is also going to obviously impact the project timeline. This may even, there could be regulatory issues, right? Are you allowed by the authorities to have this bridge between two different buildings, or are there any regulatory approvals required? So these effects must be carefully managed to avoid, derailing the entire project. By staying vigilant and employing proactive change management strategies, project teams can navigate these dynamics effectively, and this ensures the alignment with stakeholder goals as well as expectations. And these adjustments also allow teams to exploit opportunities that might otherwise go unnoticed. We talked about how there was a vendor who can actually set up a car wash shop. This is going to be, helpful. This is an opportunity. It is going to be a source of revenue for whoever is the owner of the multi-level car park, right? And this is also going to be beneficial for people who live in this housing society and who want to make use of the car wash, right? So that is why such adjustments can also allow teams to exploit opportunities which might otherwise go unnoticed, and this also reduce risks that are posed by external or internal factors at times. Let's talk about project team as a system. A project team is a diverse system which is working toward a common objective. So project team itself, it functions as a system. Now this brings together, because the project team, it brings together individuals with diverse skills, with diverse experiences, with diverse perspectives to achieve the shared goals. And this diversity is actually a strength. But obviously, it also requires thoughtful management to ensure the team collaborates effectively. And teams must leverage their differences to drive innovation while maintaining cohesion within the team. Now, in cases where team members come from different organizational structures or cultures, such as, let's say, a government agency and a private company, right? So someone coming in from a government agency will have a totally different mindset towards work versus someone who comes from a private company, right? So you have to synthesize these cultures, and this is something that you as a project manager need to take care of. You have to synthesize these cultures into a unified vision, and it is going to help the team operate as one cohesive unit. And by fostering collaboration and alignment, the team is going to ensure that its work supports not only the project's immediate objectives but also the broader organizational objectives, right? So you have the project goals, you have organizational objectives. If there's a cohesive team, it is going to align with them. Okay, let's talk about some of the skills that are required for system thinking. First is empathy. Now, empathy enables teams to understand the needs and expectations of business areas as well as stakeholders, and this helps align project goals with broader organizational objectives as well. You have critical thinking. This can be combined with the big picture focus or the holistic view that we talked about in the beginning. This allows teams to see how individual elements fit within the larger system, and this is going to help make them make informed decisions. We talked about how the roads team should also think about the construction team, the amenities team, and stuff like that. They should not just focus on their work, right? Now, assumptions, you have to challenge them. Assumptions and even mental models, they can limit perspectives for sure. So you have to challenge them, and project teams should be open to innovative solutions, right? So that is why challenging assumptions and mental models is important, which is also a skill within systems thinking. And then there's integrated methods and modeling. it provides clarity and it provides predictability. It enables teams to visualize system interactions, and it is going to help them proactively manage, right? It will help them plan proactively as well. And mastering these skills, it is going to ensure that decisions benefit not only the project but the organization as a whole. And this creates long term positive impact for sure. So, that was all about systems thinking. I hope you were able to understand this principle. If you like our work, consider contributing by heading over to pmslounge.com/contribute. And you can keep learning by checking out other videos on this channel.